Welcome to It Can Get Better Than This. I'm Heather Hodge.
And I'm Dr. Cindy Byler. And today we're going to talk about when boundaries are difficult to set.
Dun dun
It's all
dun.
nice and great to say, hey, you need to set boundaries in your life. And then you put them in place or try to put them in place, and wham, you hit wall after wall instead of fence after fence. Get it? Because boundaries aren't walls, boundaries are fences. They're property
Yeah.
lines. Yeah. So a boundary, what the first thing is, a boundary is not something that you set on another person. They are for you. This is not to control the other person's behavior.
Oh, okay.
So this is something that a lot of people get wrong, and this is one of the key reasons why boundaries get difficult. So let me start by saying boundaries are different than requests. I've been launching a lot of podcasts about boundaries while we've been doing this, and there's a podcast by, I believe her name is Jessica Miller. It's called Minding Your Boundaries.
Ooh, okay.
And she, in one of the episodes, she made a very good point about boundaries are different than requests.
Okay.
So you can say to somebody, I don't want you to paint your house white. I want you to leave it the red brick that it is. But do you own the house?
No.
It is your neighbor's house. Or you don't want, even better, I don't want you to paint your house. Oh, I hope other people don't have their house painted bright pink, but I don't want you to paint your house bright pink. But can you control that? No, you cannot. So it is a request, not a boundary.
Unless you're in an HOA, and then I'm so sorry.
Right, because they have boundaries around what you can do and not do
Yeah.
too. So that is not something you can control. You can tell your in-laws you don't want them to live within an hour of you. You want them to live further out. But can you tell your in-laws what they can do about anything? No. You really can. You cannot really. I mean, you can,
Right.
but they can also come back with, this is my life and I'll live where I want to live.
But it is also a matter of you don't have to give them a key to your house.
Right. And that's a boundary that you can set because it's no
Yeah.
longer a request. It's a boundary because it is your house and it is your key
Right.
to provide. Or you can say, you need to call me before you come over.
Right. And even if they see your cars in the driveway, you don't have to answer the door. You do not have to answer the phone.
Right. So that is one of the biggest keys, is realizing that you can't control other people. If you have a family member that has an alcoholic issue or an alcohol issue, then you can say, I don't want you to drink anymore,
But you can't
but you
make
can't
them.
control them. You
Right.
can put a boundary around that relationship and around yourself and say, if you drink, then we are not going to be with you while you are drunk.
Right. Or if you're going to continue to make these decisions, I can't let you around my family anymore, or whatever
Right.
the case is, depending on
Right.
how what situation you're in.
Situation.
Yeah.
So you have to really look at, am I making a request or am I setting a boundary?
Right.
What are you in control at the moment? So just make sure that you are actually in control, and it's not to control other people. It is to set boundaries around your property, around
Right.
yourself,
Right.
and around your life, not to make other people do what you want them to do. Even if you're right and they really should be doing that, or they shouldn't paint their house bright pink or
Right.
orange or whatever. So that's one area. Another reason that it can be difficult, boundaries can be difficult to set, is triggers and unhealthy boundaries demonstrated from childhood. If your parent was a reactive parent and feelings were this big in the house, even if it's just one parent or one person in the house, one child in the house, that can make things difficult to understand boundaries and setting of boundaries around yourself. If you were made to show, we've talked about this before, or we're going to be talking about this in the children's episode about how we're made to show affection, like hugs, to adults, like our grandparents or aunts and uncles.
Yeah. Yeah, that's not a honestly, like I understand the sentiment of it, but forcing your kids to hug people when they don't want to, that makes it very difficult later on to explain bodily autonomy and boundaries,
Mm-hmm.
because you're already teaching them from a young age that they owe that. And it's
Right.
not a healthy thing for a child to owe an adult anything, but especially physical attention.
Right. And I want my children and grandchildren to show me affection because they want to and they feel that, not because it's forced on them. And
Right.
then I don't even know what's true in the relationship about their feelings for me.
Yeah. Now we have had it with our daughter where if she does not give her cousins hugs before she leaves, she'll cry about it the whole way
Oh
home.
no, well that's
So
different.
the sentence has now been, you better give them a hug now because we are leaving now.
And we're not coming
And
back
we're
to
not
hug
coming
them.
back for hugs. This is the time to hug if you're going to do it. You don't
Oh.
have to, but if you're going to do it now.
If other people's feelings were more important than yours growing up,
Yeah.
that is also a time where it is hard to have healthy boundaries and to distinguish what they are because you've always been made to feel like your feelings are too big or
Or don't matter.
or don't matter because of many times because of another person in the house. There are the only feelings that matter.
Right.
Working on figuring out what triggers you, um, and the unhealthy boundaries that you're bringing into your relationship, especially if it's a marriage relationship,
Hmm.
but really any relationship. It's really good to have some of that inner work, even if you do it on your own and through self-help books or podcasts or whatever. You really need to figure out like what are my triggers and what unhealthy boundaries have I been a part of as I grew up and into my adulthood, depending on how old you are.
And sometimes you don't find those out until you've been in a relationship for a little while.
Mm-hmm.
Um, when especially if it's the first healthy partner that you've been with, a lot of things will start coming to the surface because of how they will react. If they are healthy, how they will react to you being unhealthy
Right.
or to you um feeling unhealthy or reacting in an unhealthy way,
Mm-hmm.
you know? Um there are times where um I remember when Aaron and I first started dating, he got us food and I felt bad cuz he hadn't asked and I wasn't hungry. And he said, "Oh, why aren't you eating?" I was like, "I'm sorry. I will eat. I will eat. I promise. I need a little bit of time." And he was like, "I don't care if you throw the food that I got you across the floor or like onto the wall, like as long as you clean it up after yourself. But
Right.
like, I bought this for you as a gift. There's no expectations.
Right.
I was just wondering if you were not hungry. I forgot to ask. I just kind of got stuff for us. I got
Yeah.
food for us." And I was like, "Oh, is it okay if I'm not hungry right now?" And he's like, "It should be. Are you okay?" So,
Yeah.
like pointing stuff like that out or like waiting for him to yell. I was always waiting for him to yell when we first got together. And I was like, "You're still not mad? You're still not mad?" I was 10 minutes late. You're still not mad at me? That kind of thing.
Yeah.
And he's
Yeah.
like, "Who hurt you?" Normally, if the sentence "who hurt you" came up, you've found one of the unhealthy boundaries that you've or expectations that you've been in.
Right. Right. Or an overreaction to it. Like 10 minutes late. Okay, you need to be on time, but whoa, like how big of a reaction was being 10 minutes late?
Right. Right.
So you want to figure out after you identify some of those, how do you want to change them? So that it takes intentional work.
Mm.
They don't just always just go away. It takes intentional work of identifying them and like, okay, what is a healthy boundary here? What am I allowed to set a boundary around? What is appropriate for this boundary? And it's good to set those and set them one at a time and not try to make too many steps at a time
Yeah.
so that you're not overwhelming everything in your life.
Yeah. And I've found it helpful that communicating like you don't owe it to the people you're holding boundaries, like especially like if it's a toxic adult child parent relationship or a toxic ex that you're trying to get rid of or whatever. You don't owe it to that person to over explain yourself.
Right.
But I think verbalizing it, maybe writing it down to yourself so that you have a clear, concise bottom line of why
Mm-hmm.
you have to do this makes it easier when you're getting pushback.
Yes.
And if you're already one that likes to avoid confrontation anyway or feels the need to avoid confrontation at all costs, this is not going to be an easy thing, but it's still necessary.
Right. Right.
And having the ability to hold to that bottom line and making it simple
Mm-hmm.
and
Something
writing
you
out,
can
I
remember.
don't owe this person this.
Right.
I do not owe this person a conversation
Right.
or whatever.
Or an explanation.
Yeah,
This is just no is a complete sentence.
right, right,
Right. And sometimes when we change boundaries, we're changing the relationships and how we operate in them. And it feels awkward and uncomfortable. And sometimes we're like, oh, forget it. I don't want to do this.
right.
But it is very rewarding when the relationship morphs and it starts growing and changing to becoming healthier. Then you can be closer to that person and develop more trust between the two of you.
And if that person that this is difficult, again, if they're toxic and like it's going to upset the apple cart that you've probably been walking on eggshells to have
Mm-hmm.
a good solid kosher way, but if um if you're pretty clear about your boundaries and stuff and you continue to be consistent with it, I think it would, I don't know, you would know better as a counselor, like it won't be peaceful immediately, but
No.
later, like as you keep going, like hopefully that'll bring in more peace
Right.
into your everyday life.
Right. What you're doing is you're messing up the equilibrium that has permeated your
It's
relationship.
existed, yeah.
Right. And so when you mess that up, of course, it's going to be shaky for a little while.
And they are not going to like it.
No, many times people don't like boundary changes, but you need to know your bottom line and hold firm to it and be kind so that you want to be the best version of yourself that you possibly can be. So you don't have to go back and say you're sorry and that you know that you have done the best that you can do.
Right. And even if they're trying to manipulate you or trying to make it feel like what you're doing is wrong, holding to that line once you know that you were the best version of yourself when you set that, or you're
Mm-hmm.
doing what's best for you or for you and your family or whatever, I think it's worth it in the long run.
Yes.
And you have to
Yes.
remember that they're coming from their perspective when they're setting that. They're not coming from your best interest at heart necessarily. You want to believe that like your mom or your dad is coming from your best interest at heart, but they're not always.
Right.
Or they are, but it's still the best interest at heart through their eyes and their perspective and what they
Mm-hmm.
want for you
Right. Or
or out of you.
right. Right. I was going to say from you. Right. So, and you have to remember that a lot of the older generations, they've never had conversations about boundaries.
Yeah,
And it's been, this is the way that you respect your elders, and this is the way this relationship works. Because that's how I did it with my parents.
right.
I got a lot of that with my mother. Like, this is the way that I respected your grandparents, and I just did what they said, and this is how it goes. And challenging that can be very difficult on the relationship. But it doesn't mean that you're in the wrong. You just want to stay kind.
Yeah.
You want to be your best self while you're doing this.
And staying kind doesn't mean rolling over either.
No,
It just means, standing your ground
and not
and
tearing the other
not
person
tearing.
down.
Right.
Right. Or expressing a lot of anger. Just this is what I need to do.
Yeah.
This is the way I want my life to go. This is right. And you don't even have to call them boundaries to the other person.
Yeah. It might be a hot button word, might not make it any easier.
Right. And you want to pay attention to how people are trying to control
Mm.
when you're set a boundary. And not everybody realizes that what they're doing is unhealthy,
Manipulative.
manipulative, toxic, because they are not aware. And some people aren't trying to do that. Some people, like if they cry to try to control, sometimes they're just crying. I mean, some people are just like, oh, that really hurt my feelings. That's going to change my life. It's not a thing of I want to control you, but other people use it as a manipulative tool. And
Right.
so that's one way.
And not everybody is in the same stage of healing that you might be in.
Right.
Maybe they haven't got to the part where they realize that they do this.
Right.
And the intention is not to manipulate, but the underlying action that the action that they are doing ultimately is manipulative.
Yeah. Right.
So realizing, okay, they might not mean to be doing it this way, but they still are doing it, and
Right.
that's not okay.
And in some relationships, you can point that out. In other relationships, you just note it to yourself and keep going.
Right. It doesn't change the fact that you have to set the boundary that has to be set.
Yeah.
And you can't fix them in the meantime.
No, no. But you can set the example. And sometimes just setting the example helps them to start realizing that they have to make changes themselves.
Right.
So another way people control is blame shifting.
Mm-hmm.
And they start blaming you for anything and everything they can possibly even pull out of thin air.
Yeah, I had a relationship like that where anytime there was a disagreement or an argument, they would bring up 5 things that I was doing wrong too.
Oh,
And it
right.
could be from years ago. And they
Right.
would start bringing up, I'm like,
And you got to see that as that's a control tactic.
right, right.
Uh,
Or I don't want to take responsibility for what I'm
right.
doing. So look at everything you're doing that I'm keeping my
Right.
mouth shut about.
Right.
And sometimes I was like, well, you didn't even tell me that I was doing, I had no idea I was doing
Oh yeah.
that. Let me know that I'm doing that and I can fix
Right.
that. But also, let's get back to this.
Right. Right. Another one is guilt or shame. And my mother was good at this. A lot of guilt. Do you remember when you were like 10 years old and you did this?
Oh my
Okay, but
God.
okay, but the point was I don't want you to try to force my children to hug you and kiss you when you come in the door when they come in the door. Let them do that of their own affection. It wasn't even about when I was
Yeah.
10 years old, kind of a
Just like,
thing.
I need you to feel small so that you stop trying to push your
Right.
parenting
Right.
on me or whatever.
Another is anger, and that can be a scary one.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
sometimes we're setting boundaries because of their anger.
Yeah.
So it's important because we react to anger with our limbic system and our complex. So we're in fight, flight, or freeze mode a lot of times when somebody's angry. We need to be aware ahead of time. Okay, this person often reacts in anger. How big does that anger get? How will it affect me? Can it affect me, like emotionally, physically, and otherwise? And
Right.
prepare for that when you're setting the boundary.
I remember the first time I had an angry family member, and the first time that I had an argument with them, that I went into it going, if they go off, the conversation is over.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember I said, I will not be talking to you if you're going to yell, and if you're going to be as harsh as you are, and you're going to put down all of my life decisions or whatever. We are done with this conversation until you can calm down.
Yes.
And walking away from that, the only thing I wish I had done is I wasn't fully calm yet when we came back to the discussion. So it's still amped up and it was still really bad, but it changed all of the conversations that we had. And it's not always going to be that miraculous. I don't know what happened that it started changing all of them from there.
Right.
But after that one, it changed the dynamic in our relationship because I was just like, I was an adult too, and that made it
That
easier.
helps. Yeah.
But I was like, you will not speak to me like that anymore.
Right.
And it changed the whole dynamic between us.
Mm-hmm.
And every once in a while I'm like, that's way too intense for what this conversation is.
Right.
We need to come back to this later. We can circle
Right.
back later, but not right now.
Right. And that's a great boundary to have with anybody
Yeah.
is if you're going to talk to me this way, yelling wor- words, derogatory words, the conversation's over until you can come back and talk to me. I would
Yeah.
say like an adult, but you don't have to be
Right.
that way about
Don't
it.
do that.
But so another way is that people try to control is playing the victim or the martyr.
Mm.
Oh boy, I love that one. So you need to keep in mind that people that are pushing in these ways and trying to control one when you're setting a boundary with them do not have good boundaries themselves, most likely. Some of them wrestle with past trauma that has not healed, and some of them have struggle with their own mental illness that they have. Maybe they're getting treatment for, maybe they haven't, but they're still struggling with it. So it does not excuse any of it, but you need to know when you're going in to set a boundary. You kind of know ahead of time how people might react. So
Yeah.
have it in your head already, but this is how I'm going to act when they do this, so that you have a plan in place so you're not caught off guard like, oh, they didn't like that boundary. Now what do I do? Like, not everybody's going to accept your boundaries, and some of the reactions are going to be huge.
Yeah. Which
So,
sometimes is an indicator that you're doing the right thing.
yeah, yes, yes. Most of the time,
Or that it's been needed for a lot longer than you realized.
right. So what you want to do is keep that boundary in place. Make sure you can check with somebody that you trust, that it's not that person, but somebody else, that it's a reasonable boundary,
Yeah.
and keep it in place and let the consequences fall where they fall. If you do
Right.
this, then this is what I'm going to need to do. And many times you either keep that relationship and it will change and they will comply, or you'll lose that relationship and you realize that you will grieve it. You might grieve it, but you've lost an unhealthy relationship and they're not willing to change so that they have your best interest at heart.
Right. I do think another thing that is extremely important is to have somebody who can hang up the phone for you too.
Yes.
Um, my husband does this for me. Every once in a while, I have a situation that
That's why you're doing that.
No, no, I don't think I've
No,
had to do that with you
no,
before.
we've never. No.
But
Gosh, I
every
hope not.
once in a while, we have a situation where, like, I'm at the edge where I don't know that I can keep my cool anymore because I've been holding this boundary over this person and they're going off. And he will take the phone and say, "This conversation is over," and he will hang up.
Yeah.
And it is so nice. And the other thing that he does is he's sitting with me so that as this is going on, he's reminding me, like, that's not okay. Like, he'll tell
Right.
me, they shouldn't be talking to you like that.
Right.
Or he'll say, well, he's a man of few words, so it's more eyes.
Right.
Like the facial expressions
Uh,
that he makes at me is like, are you really, like, don't let them talk to you like that.
yeah.
Oh, do they want to talk to me next, and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And it's like a reminder of, okay, they're trying to make me feel small, but I don't need to. I have someone over here on my side who
Mm-hmm.
actually has my best interest at heart and would not let me, you know, be anything less than the best version of myself right now either.
Right.
So yeah, I am gonna hang up the phone. Oh,
Right.
I can't do it. Here, you do it.
Right. Or having somebody sit with you during that tough conversation so that you don't feel like you have to go on and on and on, and
Right.
they're just it's just spinning out of control. I Okay, this is what I've said. This is conversation is done.
Yeah. And having a manipulative person to that you're having to deal with this will make this harder, but telling them ahead of time, I did not bring them here to gang up on you. I brought them here because I need them. I need another person in this conversation.
Yeah. Yeah, and a lot of times you can do some of this over the phone,
Yeah.
not by text,
No.
but over the phone so that you can have that person and the other person doesn't even know that they're there
No.
necessarily.
And if you need text so that you have receipts, that's different, but
Right.
um
But texts are difficult because there's no tone.
right.
It's very,
Right.
very difficult to
Yeah.
read tone.
So I think it depends on the relationship
Right.
and the problems.
Right. So keep in mind that that person might never change. So you need to go into it knowing that these are boundaries, not requests.
Right.
You can't control anybody else's thoughts, feelings, behaviors, words, any of that,
Or their growth.
or their growth. Yeah, that's a good point. So you need to go into this knowing that they might never accept the boundary and change.
Right. And that's not the goal. The goal of setting the boundaries is to bring a level of peace to your life and to
Hmm.
protect the life that you're trying to build. It's
Right,
not to change that person.
right.
It's to have a better relation. It's to have a relationship within those parameters that you're setting for your life.
Yes. So you want to definitely stay kind while you're setting boundaries with other people,
Mm-hmm.
even when, especially when they're difficult to set, because you always want to know that you have, when you walk away, that they, well, number one, didn't have anything to fling back at you,
Right.
and number two, that you've done everything that you would want to do in your journey towards
Right.
but healthier you, really, not just a healthy boundaries, but healthier you.
Yeah. And I mean, especially if you're dealing with someone toxic, they're going to have stuff to fling. You can do everything right, and they're going to have stuff.
Right.
That's not a good measure of whether or not you were successful in.
No, no, but you don't want to
But
give them ammunition while you're
right.
talking to
If
them.
you, but being proud of yourself at
Yes.
the end of it because you handled it in the, like, having that peace of mind that you handled it in the best way you possibly could
Hmm.
have.
Right.
I think it would be a good goal.
Definitely. So we hope this has helped. Boundaries can be very difficult to set especially with certain people in your life. So have your bottom line up front as to this is my boundary and this is what I need to do to keep that boundary. And then go in there with the best mindset that you can, but also being aware of the worst case scenario. Like this person will probably react like this, but having that bottom line in your mind about, but this is what I'm holding to and it's not unreasonable, will help to keep setting the boundaries and to hold to what you have said. And you need to stay consistent. Once you falter, just like children and dogs, then they know, oh, this is a weak spot and I'm going to challenge this boundary
Right.
because they might not mean it and I might get away with what I've been doing. So be consistent. Be kind and consistent.
We know this episode is not an especially easy one, probably to hear or to work on, but we hope that we've been helpful today. And thank you for listening. We hope that you're enjoying our boundaries season.
And we'll keep going next week.
Remember, it can get better than this.
Bye bye.
Bye.